Hi everyone, good morning and thank you for watching. My name's Helen Lacey and I'm the MD for Redberry Recruitment. It's Monday morning, it's a little bit drizzly outside and I'm filling from the Bridgwater office today. So what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about structuring the perfect interview answer. So for all of you fantastic candidates out there, if you're working for Redberry or you're working for other businesses or you're looking to go to your first interview or maybe you've not been successful in interviews during the course of your interview history so far, then hopefully some of these tips will help. Now this isn't going to be the golden answers, but just some ideas that that I have from them probably thousands of people that I've interviewed over the last 20 years or so of recruiting. So there's really sort of three sets of questions. Now you will have what you call your open and closed questions, and you have your exploring questions. So we'll look at each one. The easiest ones to look at will be first of all your closed questions, which is your yes and your no. So that would be when you just give somebody a question and they can just reply, well, yes, no, simple as that. It tends to be if you just want to sort of sign something off, finish an interview, or finish that sentence, or finish that topic that you're talking about. The ones that are open, you might have heard these, is the what, the why, the how and the where. So in an interview, you'll be told something like, say, what was it that you particularly liked about the role? So that's going to be the question. Now, when you give an answer, think about what, so if you just said, oh, it's all right, you're not really explaining it that well. So what was it about that role that you really, really liked? So you can say, well, I always use some of the wording in the question for the answer back. So for example, I would say, what I enjoyed about the role was. That will give you some time to think about your answer, but also it shows that it goes in a little bit more, so maybe you're just then not waffling. So for example, what I liked about the role was the fact that I worked with some brilliant people and I loved the challenge. A why question could be, why was it that you decided to leave your last employment? Now, I would always be careful. If you left under a bit of a cloud, yes, be honest, but you do have to I'd say a little bit careful in how you say. You can't say because I didn't like the people that I worked with, because that could actually look very negatively on you. So you could say, well, the reason why, so getting that in, I left the role that I worked in was because I didn't feel that maybe there was progression, I didn't feel that there was enough challenge, or it didn't really suit with my lifetime at the time I was bringing up children and it wasn't suitable. Now I would say I would never ever condone lying, but I would be very, very careful, especially if there's a sort of a history of each job that you've left, that there's a bit of maybe a clash of personality, or you didn't like the people that you're working with, that could actually reflect on you as an individual. And sometimes there's a pattern there that obviously we don't want to have happen again. Another open question is how. How would you go about implementing a new system in place, for example. So a reply to that would be, okay, I would go about implementing a new system by being logical, by being methodical, and again, you're thinking about the question, you're thinking about the words that they're asking, but it gives you time to think about the reply. Now, there's going to be literally thousands of questions and thousands of answers, so each one is going to be very much tailored obviously to your role, to you as an individual, and to the position that you're going for. Another open question is where. So where, I've got to try and think now, where would you consider yourself, or how do you consider yourself to be in say 5 years time? So where's your aspirations? What are your aspirations? So again, just have a think, what is it that you want to achieve? Where do you see yourself progressing within that business? And do you see that as an opportunity? So for example, I see myself progressing, within the next 3 years, I would love to be a supervisor, a team leader, or whatever it is that, again, the role is that you're going for. So they tend to be open questions, you can talk around it, they tend to be a little bit more, say, sort of the easy generic questions. So the closed ones are easy, do you want this job? Yes or no? Hopefully it'll be a yes. And then we have the exploratory questions. Now, there are competency-based questions, which I'll talk about in a second, and they're sort of slightly different. And the explorative ones tell me more. Tell me more about yourself. So if somebody does that, it's a very, very broad, very open question. And as I said, it's very explorative. So for example, tell me more about myself. I would say, oh, okay, a little bit about me. I am, and I talk about my age, where I live, what I do, what my hobbies are, and why have I applied for the position. They might say, explain a time when. So this might be delving into a little bit more about maybe the role. Give me a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer. So again, reply would be, okay, a time when I dealt with a difficult customer would be when. So again, just giving you a chance to your brain just to think a little bit more about sort of what the reply is going to be. You might always have, can you describe? Again, the interviewer is looking to explore what it is that you're doing. Can you describe how you would react to a tricky situation, to maybe a challenging situation? So the person then might go, okay, well, I would behave or I would react in a tricky situation in this particular way. So answering interview questions, I don't believe are difficult, but at the same time, I would always think about the question, listen to the question, and then take time to reply using some of the words that the interviewer has asked you. I don't think there's anything wrong in writing things down. I've got some notes here, because in an interview situation, you might find yourself a little bit sort of flummoxed and a little bit concerned about sort of what the replies are that you're going to give. I would also ask them to repeat the question if you are unsure. And if you really can't answer it, and I think, for the perfect interview answer, if you are unsure, don't lie, don't waffle, and say, that's a good question. I've never been asked that before, or that's a good question. Can I have a few minutes to think about it? So again, there are ways of replying to an interview question rather than, say, just making something up. We talked about, and I said I did touch upon, there are competency-based questions as well. That touches almost, it's like the exploratory ones, maybe it's just a different word for it. But explain the time, can you tell me, how would you feel, and that type of thing. It gives people, the interviewer, an idea as the personality and how people react within a different situation. So that's in a nutshell. It's not the easiest topic to talk about, I must admit, but hopefully that's given you some clues, some ideas, some hints and tips as to sort of, what I would do if I was sat in an interview. And as I said, just think about the question, use some of the words in the question back in the interview answer that you give. Be honest, be calm, don't talk too fast, and think about your reply. But at the end of the day, it is an unnatural situation, an interview. And I think if you're nervous, again, just let the interviewer know that you're a little bit nervous, and hopefully they'll take that into consideration. So if this has been useful, then fantastic. Like, share, comment. We are on Twitter and Instagram and obviously Facebook, as you're watching now. We do Periscope Live as well. We have a website. We're all out there on the social media sites. So thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.